Hi there. So Norman writes, Christopher, how do I set better boundaries so that I can maintain clarity and focus? Oh, good question. All right, first of all, hi, Christopher Avery here. Welcome to my home. It's hotter than you know what outside in Central Texas right now. So we get to do this inside, and it's a little echoey, but I bet you can hear me just fine. So personal boundaries. What are personal boundaries? Personal boundaries are our own internal guidelines, beliefs, rules, intentions, or limits that we have generally in relationship with others about where we're willing to go or not go. So how do boundaries get broken anyway? How do we get in boundary trouble? Well, generally what we know is that below the line or in problems, we tend to seek approval, safety, or control. So in other words, we tend to say yes when we ought to say no, or we tend to stay quiet when we ought to speak up, or we tend to be wimpy when we ought to be strong, or we tend to pull back when we ought to come forward. Right? So the first thing to do in terms of setting better boundaries is to choose some. Choose any of them. Identify where your boundaries are being broken, where you're allowing others to get in your way of your own clarity and your own focus. Identify one and ask yourself, what do I want about that? This question, what do I want about that, is very important. Not what should I do, not what do other people do, but what do I want about that? And just meditate on that, think about that. And something will come to you, which will be a personal belief, a personal guideline, a personal limit. And then you just create a solid intention, a commitment to that belief or guideline or limit. And then you apply the catch sooner game to it. Remember the catch sooner game? If you don't, it's chapter 5 in my book, The Responsibility Process. The catch sooner game says that you can change any habit or belief in the world in 4 steps iteratively, and that is to first catch yourself doing it. In other words, catch yourself allowing somebody to break that boundary that you set a guideline for. Right? Number 2, stop it right then. In other words, do something to correct it right then after you catch yourself. And forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for being human. Forgive yourself for not being perfect. Forgive yourself for not being able to change a decades-long habit immediately. This is very important, to forgive yourself instead of beat yourself up for it. We find that we can change much faster by having compassion for ourselves as human beings. The next step is to vow to catch yourself earlier in this boundary management dilemma next time, until the point where next time you catch it as it's happening and you say, no, stop. I'm sorry. Or you say, gosh, boss, I'm really honored that you asked me to stay late tonight and finish this report because somebody else screwed up. Right? I'm sorry. I have a prior commitment. And just because they're not doing their job doesn't mean that I have to do their job for them. I hope you understand, boss. See you tomorrow. I'll be happy to work on it then. So limits. Do you have limits that people cross? If so, tighten them up. Do you have a lack of an ability to stop people from taking advantage of you, or putting things on your plate, or handing things off to you, or putting you down? If so, pursue that and change that. With boundary management stuff, there's a lot of depth to it, and it goes into a lot of areas. And I think I've said about what I can say about it. Here's what you can do today. Look at areas of your life where you think maybe you could tighten up or improve your boundaries. And just choose one. And then again, ask yourself, what do I want about this that is a guideline, a personal belief, a personal commitment, a personal rule, or a limit that I could put in place? And then start working with that. And you're going to see changes in your life. This is a great thing to invite us to help you with in Responsibility Immersion. Immersion is a 20-week deep dive into activating the responsibility process in us so that we can take ownership of our lives. You can come to Application Mastery and bring problems like this with you, and I can help you identify them and help you put in place new guidelines and new personal beliefs and new personal limits. Send all your questions to hello@responsibility.com, hello@responsibility.com. I look forward to hearing from you at hello@responsibility.com.